You're Rob.
Thank you. Woohoo! All right, so this is the Scio Township Environmental Sustainability Task Force meeting for July 11th. And are there any additions to the agenda? And we will note that we're going to have a presentation, right? Is that correct, Jeff? Under the materials waste? Okay, great.
Sorry, I was muted. Just, I think we're going to get a summary and we're going to get some numbers to look at and discuss.
Oh, great. Okay, we can do that. I don't have any communications and correspondence. Public comment. Pam, Rob.
None today. It's been a long week. Lots of rain.
All righty. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually trying to coordinate a meeting with Norm and a bunch of folks to figure out where this GIS information can go and who is going to be in charge of it, et cetera, et cetera. So, because it certainly can help planning, LPC, PPP, in all of their efforts. So part of it is to figure out who and where and how. So, yeah, yeah. 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 It's really interesting. But then you also have to have somebody who can, manipulate it and so forth. And he's a little leery of, giving it to somebody, a for-profit company as opposed to a government entity. So the other thing would be to talk to the county GIS folks to see if there might be a way of, because we internally, we don't have anyone that really can manipulate the GIS and so finding someone who is more governmentally based as opposed to a for-profit company based is a little bit of the issue. But anyway, all right, thank you.
Rob, Jen, I don't understand, maybe you do, Rob or Jen or anybody, how the data that Norm might be able to pull out, the mapping that he can do, how that relates to the solar project. How the Yeah, okay, I get that. And we're talking about possible community solar installations, right? Yeah. Yeah. Get it.
Yeah, and also he also has the data on the production survey, the farm survey. So, all right. All right, then anything else? Thanks, Rob. Okay, I'm gonna just move to the focus group updates. And can someone take notes? Can anyone because Kathy is up north, where they pleasantly do not have internet.
I think Charlie wanted to do that.
You're muted, Charlie.
Yes.
Elizabeth, will you take some
Sorry.
notes?
Charlie, speechless.
All right.
Charlie, you're
That'd be
muted.
great. Thank you. Energy wise, we did do the site visit for the energy audit for the fire station. And I also found our one of the other things we were going to look at were street lighting. And Scio has there are 7 high pressure sodium street lights that could be changed out to LEDs. We have to go through DTE's community lighting program to do that. So I passed that information on to Brandon and to see if he could contact them and figure out what, how we could change those street lights out. Because high pressure sodium is not very efficient at all. And plus the color rendition and so forth that you get with high pressure sodium is yucky. So, and those are in one subdivision, I believe, and a couple of intersection lights. That, and as far as those are the main things for the energy piece are the light fixtures, replacing the HVAC, which we got the community energy management grant for. That is, we should have the study done in a few weeks to look at all the different HVAC options for replacement in the township hall. And then we'll also, with the energy audit for the fire station, have some energy conservation measures that we can do there. I think most of the lighting, I don't know if it was upgraded in the sheriff's area, but with the addition and the renovation, we did do, some energy efficiency upgrades there. So from an energy standpoint, then it's just more of the community advocacy piece as a part of the sustainability fair. So with that, I'll go to, Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about the Huron River Watershed Council grant
Possibility
for workshop or whatever that is? Yeah.
Right. Let's see, what was it called exactly? It was a green space. No, that
Green
wasn't it.
infrastructure, wasn't it?
Yeah, green infrastructure workshop where they're going to be collaborating with Lodi Township, as it turns out. Our clerk Flintoff got wind of it and sent it around to a few of us. And so the question was, are we in Scio, have we ever done such a workshop with Huron River Watershed Council where we shared the infrastructure data? And I know we have a bunch. I know LPC has been keeping track, and Norm and so has our consultant, our planner, keeping track of where our priority tree cover is. So we have data. What does the Huron River Watershed Council have for us? And so I proposed, or I put to them, do we want to have a joint planning session to discuss what the future of Scio could be from their point of view? So we have to take that a step at a time. I don't have an answer yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, Bob, I was thinking, we could even host it as a public meeting via the Planning Commission or something like that, because I think making it a public meeting process would be really good.
It would, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're doing as a virtual meeting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of the Planning Commission doing it, but sure.
Yeah, because we could do a hybrid and then it could be, recorded and people could view it. And I think that would be, so I think, working on that process would be good. The other thing I think, with the, well, I'll wait till mobility, because I think, some of
Okay.
the other things that we're doing, that could tie into that as well. So I think that would be a great, opportunity for community outreach and education. Mhm.
Yeah, and so that relates to water, right, Bob? The,
No, because not just water, Tim, because farmland runoff affects stream quality and residential runoff. I mean, business runoff. So I mean, it's all the surrounding lands affect the water. Their
Yeah.
focus is on the water, but the health of the river depends on the health of the whole community.
and the ecosystem, yeah. So the idea is to study what Scio might do, what might be done within the township to, whether it's farms or subdivisions or whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, because our largest impervious area is actually along Jackson Road, and many of those developments, if they're not new, were developed prior to our stormwater regulations. And
Right.
so we do have, and the roadways, that when they did, the Jackson Road Boulevard, they did not do anything around quantity and quality of water runoff. So all of that runoff goes to, directly into, well,
The creeks.
the creeks, yeah, and then ultimately into the Huron River.
Wouldn't
The
it have
other
been-
thing I was interested in, Bob, was they had publicized an audit in the last newsletter that they had, an audit that they did in the Meyer parking lot.
Yes,
Yeah,
they pulled trash out of they caught what was being dumped down the drain.
yeah.
And boy, if they presented that at the sustainability fair, wouldn't that be a presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to
what I
get
was gonna
that
say.
audit and give it to, because the folks that we're working with on the sustainability fair is the sustainability group for Meyer. And I want to get them the results of that audit.
Great.
That's the whole issue around creating a water quality green infrastructure before it goes in the storm system. So the water no longer runs off asphalt, whether it be a roadway or a parking lot. It goes into a sort of a swale, a bioswale. And so any crap gets filtered out before it goes into the streams. And all of our new developments have to do that, but none of the older developments have. And even our original stormwater regulations didn't have that quality component. It was all about, or it didn't have it had a quantity detention, but it didn't have a water quality where it was trying to basically filter the water before it hit the streams.
And is Meyer one of the older
Yes.
projects? So I wonder if they'd want to have a table at the sustainability fair to present all of the sustainable factors that they're involved in.
Yeah, I think it would be great. And maybe Bob, you can reach out to them since you're our rep.
When you say them, you're saying Huron River Watershed
Yeah.
Council?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
'cause they
did reach out to them.
No,
Yeah.
well, what I had in mind was Meyer.
Meyer.
They didn't do the study, Tim. It was done on their property, but not by them.
Right, but I imagine that they had some reaction to it, and
I'm not sure they presented it to Meyer.
Yeah.
And so we have the contacts with Meyer's sustainability, their corporate sustainability group, and I think we should, give them that and, talk about
I mean,
improve me.
our property, having a table telling the citizens all about what they're doing for sustainability issues, climate change and so on.
Yeah, but you're right. We can invite Meyer to participate because they at least have a sustainability group and they're doing some things with the refrigeration and some other pieces that are kind of interesting.
They might jump at the chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Tim, did you want to do any egg update?
Well, I haven't been to see Mike Vestergaard. I don't have a update on him, but I've got to write an article, right, for the fall Scio newsletter, and so I plan to do it. But otherwise, no, I've spent a lot of time on my little farm out here, and it's been a difficult growing season in many ways for the small farms around here. Particularly with that 4 inches of rain we got last night that hurt a lot of crops. But we've got a thriving local food system here in the county. South Township doesn't participate that much in it, but there are farms that we can buy food from here, and yeah, and Mike Vestergaard's farm is one of them, and so anyway, that's all I've got to say about that, and I'll
Okay.
talking to Mike.
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know if I sent this to you, but the city of Ann Arbor has launched a sustainable food business coalition.
Mhm.
And they did have their first meeting, and I have to say it is an amazing group of people. It's from I guess his name is Ryan, who does the Hungry Locavore, who I didn't realize he grew up on a farm in Northern California and has done all this aggregation and things. And it was hosted at Blow Meadworks, and they were talking about they buy and freeze huge vats of cider from local cider mills to produce their mead. They purchased 55-gallon drums of local honey. Well, it's Michigan honey. It isn't hyper local, but and they were just talking about where the networks of getting local food and so forth. And there were some restaurant owners there too, and the sustainability, U of M dining sustainability is even is a part of it. So I think that group is going to be a really interesting group. I also found out that, and this is Jenna, kind of goes into the food waste piece. Zingerman's isn't using the city composting because it's too expensive, and they're using, what is the one that the one that you guys work with? Michigan Green something.
My Green Michigan.
Yeah, My Green.
My Green Michigan. So they've contracted with them for their composting, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah.
How far do they have to haul it?
Yep.
You know, Jeff, where do they have to go to take all their?
Yeah, Jenna, I'm not sure. I know their main office is in Diamondale.
Yeah, so I believe their service is in Wixom.
Oh, okay. They're taking it to Spurt.
Yeah, yep, it goes to Spur.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not too terribly far.
Yeah.
Not too terribly, but still, it's not local, right?
Yeah.
No, not super local.
But it has to do with all the, the specialty regulations that the city composting facility has. Yeah. Anyway, so Tim, I think it'd be great if we can, help people connect with that group too.
I do too, and I know Ryan a little bit. He was out here at the farm about a month ago, and he's doing pretty good service. It's a tough one. I hope he can sustain it. I've seen models like that fail a lot, but
Well,
hopefully
Zingerman's
he'll get
took him
past
in.
it. Pardon me?
He's moving into Zingerman's, into their some of their near the bakehouse. They have some production, packing, refrigeration stuff that they can help them out with. Yeah. So
Great.
I'm hoping, yeah.
Maybe they'll become part of ZCOB, the community of businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
In due time.
And I don't know if you saw, Miss Kim was on was it MSNBC or something? They highlighted her restaurant. So
What was the name of that group, Jen?
it's called the Sustainable Food Business Coalition.
And that's part of Ann Arbor's.
Yeah, Ann Arbor, the Office of Sustainability and Innovations is helping to support it. And they have maybe 30 businesses right now that are a part of it.
And Ryan has done a lot of work putting that together.
He's a part of it. And then also El Harissa, which is not in Scio, but close to Scio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zingerman's is a part of it. Bloom Meadworks, Argus Farms, are some of the more recognizable names. And then, yeah, a host of smaller businesses. Yeah.
Arbor Farms, which?
I don't think I didn't see Arbor Farms listed, but Argus is definitely one of the founding members. Yeah.
All right. I'll reach out to Ryan and I'll see if I can
Okay.
a little more. I'm interested personally.
Okay. Elizabeth.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, I wondered if you had done much or we had done much in the past with nature nurture seeds, which is have you? Okay.
Yes.
So okay, I was just wondering because we use them for getting seed, but we also are just going to go over and volunteer to harvest garlic. So it looks like they are really trying to get people in and involved, and so they might be a possibility for the sustainability fair in the fall too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the other entity that I was thinking about, and this is faith-based related, is, and again, they're on the periphery of Howard Township, but it is the Unitarian Universalist congregation. And so they've recently been recognized by covering their building with solar. They've instituted composting this year. They've changed to LED lighting. They've switched to heat pumps, and they're doing even more. So they are doing so well that nationally they're being recognized by the Unitarian Universalist Association. And the head minister for the UUA is coming to Ann Arbor in the fall. And so they're doing their own kind of green certification, UUA is, across the country. And it looks like our local congregation is doing very well compared to what's happening across the nation. So just a side note about that. And to maybe encourage other faith-based organizations that are within the township, and there are several, to see if they can, get some information, because UUAA is more than willing to share.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, that reminds me, because the 2030 district, they just joined, and Ed Lynn,
Yes.
yeah, has been to several of our events and things, and I do need to do some more outreach, and 242 would be a good one, actually, to do that too. So,
and there's the Greek congregation, the Baptist congregation, and the Presbyterian congregation, all right
in there,
within a half a mile of one another.
Actually, St. Nicholas is a member too. They just started benchmarking, as did UUA. So it'll be interesting, because yeah, that's great. Thank you for that, because it reminds me to do a little outreach.
Okay. Yeah, and let me know if I can help.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what we want to do, and Tim, this would be, we have a 30 by 45 tent is the size of the tent, and we can fit 15 tables under that, and then have a couple pop-ups with a couple, for some of the mobility stuff outside that. So one of the things I wanted to do is to brainstorm, who we have people identify which groups we want to reach out to invite to participate. And then if we have some other, leftover tables, go to kind of the next round of folks. But it would be great to have some ag folks participating. And, October 6th is still kind of prime harvest season, but maybe we could even have a mini market or something if people wanted to. Although I don't know what buyer would think of that.
Maybe a little much to work in that, but I don't know. I mean, for farmers, October it starts to ease up a lot. There's some harvesting that's going on, but no planting, and it's
Yeah.
easier in many ways. So, but I agree, Jen. Do you want to do that now or later or what?
Yeah, we can do that. I think what we can do is it's something that we can, if you can email me who you want to approach. I mean, each of our groups, if we, have a list of 3 people, obviously we want to have LPC represented and PPP and some of the Scio folks, the Scio committees, but, and Huron River Watershed, I think is key. I think I already reached out to the Washtenaw County, I think it was the Conservation District, and I guess they don't have as many interns in the fall as they did, and they declined, but I can always ask again. But I think the Huron River Watershed Council would participate.
Washtenaw Conservation District.
Yeah, they declined, but that was the only one so far that has. But yeah, if we could get a few farmers to be a part of that, I think it'd be great. Like, that are in like Blue Spring, Westgard, yours.
Honeybee.
Honeybee. Mm-hmm.
And what's the one on Stein? What's it called?
That's Blue Spring.
Blue Spring, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I'll talk to Mike and Erica at Nature Nurture.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And, they can also, we could put a couple tables together, and 4 of them could share 2 tables too. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm gonna skip mobility and go back to that since, why don't we just hop to materials and waste and with that update.
So you'll see with us tonight, Jenna McDonald. When we had our last meeting, we had a little presentation from Michigan Environmental or Consulting and Environmental. Since then, Haley has left for another position with another company and been replaced by Jenna. So we look forward to working with her moving forward. And she has put some numbers together for us to look at that we can at least outline what the costs would be involved in starting a program. So I'm going to turn it over to her and also some input from Jeff.
Sounds great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So is it helpful to recap kind of the 2 approaches? Is that something that you guys would like recapped?
Yeah, briefly, please.
All right. So I'm sorry about my dogs. So the first approach was a Scio-based composting site. So this would be an internal site that was set up. I believe it was talked about having a drop-off center at a farm and school. And then kind of permanently implementing that, having it be something that is managed kind of internally by the township. The second option, which is I think a little more user-friendly, and this is similar to the program we have set up in Canton right now, is a drop-off program. So we have multiple different drop-off locations throughout the township. I believe we had discussed with you guys 1 or 2 different drop-off locations. And each volunteer would get a little bin. They're about this big. that you have in your house. And most people just fill that up during the week, make a weekly trip to the compost bin, dump it off. And then I did actually, there is another one. My green will transport to Spurt in Wixom or Tut Hill Farms in South Lyon. So if, you know, the South Lyon one might be easier to get everything to. And I believe
Right.
to
Just to clarify,
yeah,
Jenna, just to clarify, volunteer means households signing up
households.
voluntarily for the program.
And so, you know, just as a comparison number, when we started the Canton composting program, we did have 550 households sign up to volunteer. So there were 550 different households that received a bin and participated in the 2023 program. And it was incredibly successful. They collected almost 167,000 pounds of food waste over the year. So much so that Canton decided to double their budget for 2024. And we have expanded to 500 additional volunteers. So we're over 1,000 volunteer households right now. And we added, I believe, 2 more drop-off locations. And, you know, for the year, we are still on a very nice upward trend for collecting their food composting waste. And they are through My Green. They do, you know, they have the drop-offs. It gets picked up usually bi-weekly, every other week. And that's something that, you know, depending on how quickly the bins fill up, can be readjusted with My Green.
Jenna, can I get a question in here?
Absolutely.
So do you have any sense of whether it's sustainable, financially a sustainable program?
Yes. And so these are some numbers that I actually helped Haley put together. This is her email, but you know, we kind of worked a little bit together on these. So if you were to have 2 different carts, whether that's 1 cart per drop-off location or 2 carts at the same drop-off location, that's a one-time purchase fee of $46. So you pay for the carts once, they're yours now. There is a monthly fee of $450 that covers the hauling, the transportation, and then 1 hour a month of Michigan consulting time if you want us to do the reporting. So Canton, with this being a volunteer program, they wanted to be able to have the concrete numbers to show to their household volunteers and to the township what they were spending their money on and how it was actually making an impact. So that would be what our time would be for. Those are the only 2 mandatory costs. There are other fees that you can add on. The one that I do personally recommend is the BPI liners. So those go in each cart and they're $5. They would need to be replaced each time the food waste gets picked up. However, they do really, really cut down on how kind of gross the containers get on the inside. They cut down on the smell. You know, they help prevent things like bugs and other pests from, you know, sniffing around the food bins or, you know, getting
What's a
maggots, etc.
What does BPI mean?
I will be 100% honest. I do not remember what it stands for, but it is a plastic alternative that is also compostable.
Oh,
So it's
It
basically
stands for Biodegradable Products Institute.
okay.
It's a national body that sets out standards for decomposition.
great.
So, for example, Tut Hill Farms will accept BPI certified compostable items. Ann Arbor did, and they don't anymore. But Tut Hill does, and I believe My Green Michigan does.
Yes.
But they would have
will
to if
do.
they haul this stuff away.
Yep.
It means the liners will break down under temperature and pressure of certain conditions.
Yeah, over a long period of time. Ann Arbor quit taking them though.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, there are a couple bags that now that are CMA-W that you can use in Ann Arbor.
Mm.
So Jenna, how many households would this fee support?
So this one was projected for I potentially, plus or minus 200 household volunteers.
Okay, so for $450 a month,
Mhm.
we could have up to 200 households in the township sign up to do this.
Yes.
And then we would also, in addition, we would pay for the carts to give them.
Yes. So
That's the one-time fee you mentioned.
Yep, the drop-off carts are the one-time fee of 46. So those are the ones that would be placed at the school or farm or wherever you chose to be your public drop-off. If you want to get the 2.5 gallon bins, the little bins I talked about, those would be about $3.50 to $4 per household.
How big are the carts?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I remember. They might be 500 gallon.
Yeah, they would have to cover 2.5 times 200, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's
They're
500.
slightly larger than like a waste management trash can bin that you get, the new ones that they have the trucks lift up and everything. They're slightly larger than those.
Oh,
So
Well, that's a 96 gallon cart, isn't it?
they might be.
So it would have to be bigger than that.
Yeah. I can look into that.
That's what I
and
use in
let
my
you guys
business.
know because I'm not 100% sure the size capacity of them. But
I mean, if we have
give you
to
that
buy
number.
more than 2 carts, we'd just like to know. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
and that price is $46 for both carts. That's not each.
Correct. That would be for two of them. So
Yeah.
for one, it would be half of that.
Okay.
So I think we can afford that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
question I have is, let's say you need 4 carts. Does the monthly fee then go up, or is it just no matter how many carts are there, that's the transportation cost, basically?
The monthly fee may increase slightly, and it would be based on if it's extra time and materials for the hauler. So if they're doing a lot more driving around, or if they would need to bring a second truck or something of that variety, their price would increase a little bit. It wouldn't be like doubling it or anything. It's not like you add 2 more carts and this price doubles. It would be a slight increase because most of the work would already be covered in this. It would just be like slightly additional for, the slight extra time it would take to pick up from more locations.
Sure. Right. So in what township is that?
Canton?
Yeah. The township is paying for all of these fees for their citizens.
Yes. Yep.
Uh-huh. Okay. So they probably did not pay for the 2.5 gallon bins that the volunteers use.
I believe that they did pay for those.
The township did.
Yes, I do believe so.
Okay.
And since that was part of, they wanted it to be a program where people could collect their food waste at home and then take it to a location to drop off.
Sure.
And their reasoning and thinking behind it was that if they were to provide the bins to people, it would make them a lot more likely to participate. If people don't have to try to find their own containers and their own things to store waste in, but they were provided them, people are going to take the easy route. If you make something easy, most people are really willing to participate. But if you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get there, maybe not so much.
So Canton Township was so excited about this that they decided to expand the program and got up to about 1,000 people. And so the cost is going up. So the township must have decided the benefit to the township, both environmentally and otherwise, is there to spend the extra money, which wasn't in the budget before, but now is. Yeah, okay. So Jeff, do you have any idea or Jan, if the township that we live in, Scio, is interested?
I know we have the budget.
Definitely.
We had money set aside, and we were going to originally use it for a permanent recycling container behind the township, among other things, and possibly holding an electronics event. The electronics event we still want to do. I think we've moved away from the permanent recycling bin, at least for the moment. I'm pretty sure we're not going to do GFL. So this would be right up the alley for using that money.
Yeah, good.
Definitely fits in the budget.
Let's do it.
We got a pretty good idea of cost. I mean, whether there's some estimate there, depending on whether we do the BPI liners, but I think we'd include that as a strong recommendation. Then it's just a matter of the containers for the volunteers, whether we want to invest in that.
I will say I used to use BPI liners, but they tore so quickly. Now for a 2.5 gallon bin, not a big deal. When you started getting up in the larger carts, they started making them flimsier, and Tuthill just says, go ahead and dump it loose. So I dump it all loose, and then I wash the carts out. Now, not everybody's going to want to do that.
Yeah. And that is an option. That's why, they're in here as an add-on. You don't technically need them. Especially with how hot it's been out lately and all the rain that we've been getting. We have found at Canton it does really help. Like I said, with the smell. One of their drop-off locations is at a school. Another one is outside a restaurant, so they don't want rotting food waste smell everywhere.
That makes a lot of sense.
Especially at those locations, they were very eager to take this approach.
Yeah, Zingerman's mentioned some odor issues.
Yeah, this definitely helps cut down with the odor issues. So it is a little bit of an extra cost, but if these are going to be in a public location where that may be a concern, this is a good way to help combat that.
I do have to say $5 each seems a bit steep. Just based on when I've purchased rolls of BPI liners, they're not more than $1 a piece, or they weren't. So I'm wondering about that. But that's something we can work out, I assume, with you guys and Migraine.
Yeah, and I can double check on that too. Like I said, this is the prices that we were provided by Migraine. But especially if it's something that you guys were to want, and we could get a guarantee that they would get to replace them weekly, they may be willing to go down on the cost a little.
I think you just answered my question. The carts would be taken to the facility once a week.
Yeah, so at Canton, we started once a week, and then we did end up switching to every other week. Just because of the rates that they were being filled at. By the time that Migraine was coming to get them, they were only maybe a quarter full. So by reducing that, we cut down the cost a little bit. We cut down the frequency of, the hauler having to come out. So that's absolutely something that can be adjusted, and we can work with Migraine on that based on how many volunteers you get, how quickly it seems to fill up. We do... With Canton, MCE is out there weekly. We actually go every Thursday and we check the contents of the bin. We take measurements, we take readings, and that's what we use to generate the graphs and the figures. But then if any of the bins do end up being extra full, we can call Migraine and have them come out and do kind of a emergency request pickup.
Bob.
I had a question about the product that's produced, the compost. Is it for sale? Does the township get us any different price than anybody else? How does that work?
That is something I would have to look into. Because I'm not exactly sure, but that is a great question.
I mean, if I have compost material, I'm sorry, compostable material, I want to see it go into my garden eventually, or I would like to
Yeah.
encourage others to want to do that.
No, and absolutely. That's a great question.
So what's the incentive to participate in a program like this, or can people just go out to, you know, they're not going to get any different deal than anybody else? That's my question.
Yeah.
One of the things I do have, the Environmental Sustainability Task Force on the agenda for July 22nd for the Planning Commission to sort of report out where we're going and, you know, get some feedback. And if there are any recommendations that need to go to the Board of Trustees, we can do that. Obviously that's, you know, 10 days away, and we do have to get the agenda stuff a week beforehand. So I think it would be interesting to me to kind of firm up some possible locations and kind of put together a recommended cost with the liners, you know, the buckets, and approximate, you know, an estimation of how many households we think we could get. And I have a couple questions. It would be, to me, important to reach out to like the co-housing group. I don't know if they do, you know, composting within that, the co-housing developments, or if they would be interested in actually a drop off there. And then talk to WISD and Vestagards, you know, about something there. Charlie, I don't know. The next densest one is really Scio Farms.
True.
And I don't know if, you know, and maybe we do a test with several locations and find out where, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of engagement. And I guess the other thing would be, I don't know, the DDA would probably look at us cross-eyed, but whether or not there might be a DDA restaurant piece, but I think restaurants, it's got to be convenient. It's got to be out the back door.
It's got to be central. I think Vestergaard's farm is a little too far south.
Mm-hmm.
It's right on the,
Although if you actually had it at WISD, they would have quite the volume, and then we could piggyback possibly a community composting site. I mean, that one would be, because it's year round. They've got food waste.
Did
Well,
you
they also
mention
have
Township
our-
Hall?
Township Hall. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes sense. Township Hall.
That's as central as you can get.
Yep. Yep, and yeah.
I think your idea of co-housing was excellent, Jan. Because if they don't have something like that now, they would definitely buy into that, I would think.
Mm-hmm. And that would be a little, you know, different location, and make
Yeah.
it very convenient.
It would have to be for, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I saw your hand up. I don't mean to get in front of you, but for the co-housing folks and areas, they'd have to have a designated spot and somebody probably who would look over it, keep watch on it. And they've got committees that are in charge of that stuff. So anyway.
And that's actually right along the lines of what I was going to mention. And that is, you know, when you start something new, there's always some level of contamination. And so what did Canton do to try to reduce the contamination of, you know, what was picked up?
Yeah.
Do you mean as far as like in the food waste?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what ended up happening at U of M was people would put plastic in there, people would put other stuff in there. So how do you reduce that or eliminate it?
Yeah. I think, and I would have to follow up with Haley and see if she has any statistics on how successful the reduction of that stuff has been.
Mhm.
But I do know they did a lot of public education and awareness. I think they have signs posted next to each of the bin drop-off locations showing what's acceptable and what's not. I do know there has been instances where people will, you know, put a head of lettuce still wrapped in the plastic and they'll just dump it in there. But like I said, it has definitely declined from them, and I will have to check if Haley has any numbers on that.
Mhm.
You
Okay,
might be-
thanks.
I would guess, frankly, the contamination will be a little bit lower than, let's say, getting food waste from a cafeteria or a restaurant,
Mhm.
because each individual household, they have a pretty good idea of what's food and what isn't.
Mhm.
And they wouldn't use a lot of plastic anyway. But yes, it would be good to have those numbers. Absolutely.
Yeah, I will double check and see if that's something we have. I know we've got record and note of it. I'm just not sure if we have the solid numbers anywhere.
I could see to make it a process. If you're going to be a volunteer, you attend a hybrid meeting on food waste and how this is going to work and what's, kind of required, what's permissible and what's not. You get your bucket, you get a reminder that you can put up, in your kitchen and you go for it. So there's a little bit of
Mhm.
effort involved in the volunteer piece.
And that is one thing that they did when they had the volunteers come and pick up the bins. They did sort of a mini volunteer orientation. Sort of, here's the do's, here's the don'ts, here's how ideally this would run.
I like the idea of a Zoom or something, though, a sort of virtual introduction.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's probably more accessible that way for everybody as well.
And I do like the idea of it being part of the township property there, the Scio Township being involved in this, directly, rather than just funding it. There are people there. Anyway, Jeff or Jan, do you have any idea whether hall behind it, back there somewhere?
There's space for sure.
Definitely.
And, we might even get, the county building next door to participate with us.
Might, yep. It's a township thing, though. That makes a lot of sense.
It does, and it's centrally located.
Yep.
If we're talking limiting the number of volunteers initially, what's to keep people from just dropping by and that aren't official and adding to the total?
Excellent question, Bob.
Does that happen?
That's a good question, but I don't think that's going to get out of hand.
And I think that kind of goes back to being provided the bins. If people don't have an easy way to transport food waste, most people are not going to be like, oh yes, let me put all this garbage in my car and drive it somewhere in a stinky plastic bag on my front seat. But if you give them the container, then it's easier for them to do it. So I think that kind of dissuades most people. I don't know if we've had any documented issues with plenty of people just dropping unsolicited.
Yeah, maybe MCE would be glad to have more compostable material. Because you all sell it, right? You make compost and sell it.
We do not.
What happens?
We're just the consulting firm, and we're kind of the
okay.
middleman who coordinates everything.
My Green Michigan makes
My
the
Green would
compost.
be the one who, and
Yeah.
Tuttle Farms would be the one that, get the product at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think what would be helpful, Jen, if you could get us the capacity, like the dimensions, a better description on the card itself.
Yes,
Because I can
absolutely.
see, for example, in Scio Farms, the concerns are going to be what is the real footprint of that? And then also there's gonna be a question of odors. Because where I picture the logical place to put that bin or cart would also be a real concern if there's odor problems, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And as things have been coming up, I've been jotting down what you guys are having some really great questions. So I will get the answer and I will get those over to you, Jeff and Charlie.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Jeff and Charlie, I think it would be good if we can get it together by the 22nd to just sort of get some feedback from the Planning Commission and some, sites that there might be opportunity, what it would cost per site, to try it. And also, I think it would be good to talk a little bit about the electronics event. And that would
Yeah.
those would be very good, some progress, and then we can weed out some questions and hopefully then move it along to the Board of Trustees.
Jan, if you wouldn't mind sending me an email reminder on that, my life is frantic at the moment.
Yeah, same here.
And
Okay.
if I get an email from you, I'll know to put it in my planner to get it done. Otherwise, I'm going to forget.
Okay.
And in mine, could you remind me what my name is?
Yeah.
Yep. I ran into
Well, now, let me understand though, Jan, you want to just, because I thought on the 22nd, you were going to discuss it with the Planning Commission?
Yeah, so it would be good to have, sort of an outline of costs, possible sites, and
Okay,
it
yeah,
may
take
be a
this
cost
information.
per
Okay,
site,
okay,
an
gotcha.
annual cost per site or something like that, I think would
Did
be.
you want Charlie or Jeff to be presenting to the Planning Commission?
You can do that virtually if you
Or
have.
did you want documentation sent in or what? A report or what?
I think whatever if you all are available, it'd be, something like, shortly after 7:00 on the 22nd of July, which is a Monday.
Possibly. Again, if you send that in an email to me, I'll check my calendar and make sure I've got room for that.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think anything's got me on that day yet.
Okay. And you can do it virtually. That works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, looks like we got some work to do, Jeff.
Yep. Looks like we do.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. I think if you do it per site, and then here are some sites that we've talked about. I'm glad to, like, Mary Gillis, she lives in co-housing, and she might have a good idea of whether or not co-housing would be interested in it. If co-housing might chip in for it, I don't know. I will ask WISD if they've thought about that. They may, if they did it, they would probably fund it, and maybe we could piggyback on it. And I'm just thinking, Jenna, if you have like 3 pickup sites, it makes it more, it might be good to get some feedback from My Green Michigan on, if we have, this type of volume, that really makes a lot of sense for us.
Yeah, I can ask that as well.
Okay, very cool.
Thank you so much for coming, Jenna.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. And
Jenna.
my cat thanks you. Right?
A
Buster
beautiful
says
kitty.
hello, and he's in favor of all this. Okay, I have to jump off now, Jan.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate
Jeff.
it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. We'll
Yeah.
make this happen.
Think we got
All
some
right, good night,
traction.
everybody.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good work,
Yeah.
Jeff.
All right. I'm going to hop back to mobility, and I sent along Kathy's. She took the framework from Michigan Green Communities and, talked about some initiatives. And one big thing with mobility is we got the SEMCOG planning grant for Jackson Road. So we will be working on an RFP to do, so it's a complete streets sort of analysis of the corridor from Wagner all the way up to Parker and across 94 and then over to Liberty. And so this will look at multimodal transportation, and it includes working with the Road Commission, the City of Ann Arbor, the City of Dexter, the Western Washtenaw Business Association, WAVE, AAATA. So it should be a really, I'm hoping, strategic planning initiative to make Jackson Road less of a throughway and more of a multimodal, attractive, fun, and it will also dovetail in with some of the zoning updates that we're looking at. Yeah, so that'll be nice. The project would be a $50,000 project, and the township puts in a little over $9,000 of that. So thanks again, Elizabeth. Yay. Elizabeth has, so far she's, 2 for 2.
Yeah, you picked them though, Jan. And we had pretty good likelihood for both, but you never know.
Yeah, we have, I have to tell you, remember, Bob, when we invited Mandy Grewal to do the presentation on Jackson Road? She remembered that. She was a part of the review committee.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, and my understanding is she was quite our advocate. So,
All right.
yes, very cool. Yay. All right. Any other, I don't know if people had a chance to look at, some of the mobility pieces that Kathy had. Again, we'll go over them a little bit in the Planning Commission to get people's response and so forth. But a lot of it, some of it has to do with, as we're looking at our zoning updates, looking at the amount of bicycles, EV charging, some of those ordinance updates, and the just getting a handle on where the crosswalks should be along Jackson Road and so forth with this study will be very helpful. I did met with Alpha House, and they were talking about, they just started laughing when I talked about the bus stops, on Jackson Road. They go, yeah, we run across, all of our families run across Jackson Road because they're using the buses, right? So you have these kids, right? Running across Jackson Road to be able to get to the bus stop. Oh my gosh. Yeah, just crazy. So
I thought Kathy's article, just to mention that, in the newsletter was good because I thought it hit a lot of key points. Why should we vote for this? And what is it going to cost? So anyhow, that was good.
Yeah. Yep, it helps to have that team. So, and if anybody, there are yard signs for the millage if anybody's interested in promoting that. And I noticed I got a postcard today that was, I thought, well done on the millage information. So,
Jan, how do we get the yard signs? Who has them?
I think Will has them.
So contact the Township Hall.
Will Hathaway.
Okay.
It's separate from Township Hall.
Of course it is.
Yes, yes.
It would have
and
to
so
be.
I think he has a stash on his front porch of the house that he's not living in because of the fire.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think that's where they are. That's where I picked up mine.
Thank you.
Yep. So so far I haven't heard of any opposition to it. I don't know if other people have or not, but yeah. I have to say it's a good deal with being able to enhance the frequency and wave, and yeah, we're talking about trying to put together a joint map, some sort of visual that will help people understand what the transportation system in Scio is like, because most people don't realize, you can basically call up and ask Wave to come to your door. I think it's $10 and they'll take you anywhere in Washington County.
I think a lot of people don't realize that.
True.
Okay.
And Jan, isn't there a bus meeting, transit meeting tomorrow
There
afternoon?
is. Mhm.
Okay, I don't see the agenda for it yet, but it's at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and I think I saw the agenda come out from Joyce today. It may not have gotten posted.
What is that at 2 o'clock tomorrow?
It's a transportation, the Board of Trustees charged a transportation committee to come up with what the recommendation was for the millage. And the other thing is there is a fund balance that they're looking at. Should the millage pass, there is a fund balance that might be available for some one-time improvements, which would be, we have bus shelters that don't have, and bus stops that don't have even a sidewalk connection to the road, so they're not really barrier free. There's a lack of signage. We don't have any document that covers, what the transportation system looks like in Scio. So there's some things that some of those funds could be used for to help public education and also improve the accessibility of the transit system. Okay. I don't have anything from resilience. I did look at one of the things when we were doing the My Green Communities framework. They had a section on health, and I had an opportunity to look at that a little closer. And one of the things that they recommend is that the township leadership participate in a health and all policies session. It can be a webinar or whatever, but it's just looking at how you take into account health, the health of your community. And one of the things that we'll be doing is actually by improving the indoor air quality with the new HVAC systems, it will be doing something to improve, the health of our employees. And that's one of the items that will be covered. But so I sort of took the health and said, we're going to improve the indoor air quality, and also suggest that we make it a that people can, as a, I don't know, an onboarding or whatever of especially whatever leadership we have with the new Board of Trustees, that we go through. I'm trying to come up with sort of a sustainability a program that talks about the sustainability plan and this committee, and then also the health and all policies, and some of the resources that are available for looking at sustainability. I did not have the bandwidth to look at the capital improvement plan. And so one of the things, I don't know if there's anybody else that has an interest in that, would be to take a look at that. I believe it's been approved by the Board of Trustees, but it would be good to go through that. And we really didn't get on top of that to give any input on sustainability, renewable energy, some of those aspects. I know the HVAC system was, is a part of that, and there's some things around the utilities and so forth, but we should probably make sure we at least give input to that capital improvement plan as it, gets updated through the year. So both the budgeting process and the capital improvement process would be kind of key points for this committee to give some input.
The what improvement plan?
It's called a capital improvement plan. So it's looking at, one-time expenses for whether it be utilities, buildings, et cetera, for township facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if, to tell you the truth, I think large equipment is also included in that. Mhm. Okay.
I was at a meeting in Township Hall today, and it was cold as heck in that room, and I don't know why it's being cooled so severely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, part of it is, the controls, and I don't think we have a CO2 sensor on there. So if there are only 12 people in the room, it's considered occupied. And so you get the full, the full benefit of cooling for 150 or 200 people, whatever the occupant load of it is. Yeah.
Well, then we need CO2 sensors, right?
Yeah. Well, we need a new, yeah. And that HVAC system is end of life. So, all right. The next item was since we achieved silver for the Michigan Green Communities, we can be part of what's called an accelerator cohort, and they have there's a survey that I need to fill out, and I thought I would ask people what you think we would be most interested in learning more about. And one topic is the residential, and it's on the agenda. It's the residential efficiency, health and all policies, resiliency planning, or sustainable purchasing policies. And you can choose all of them, or sort of it's sort of I'm not interested. I may be interested in that. I'm very interested in that. So I was just trying to think of which of those do you think we could benefit from learning more about?
Yeah.
Can you name those again?
Residential energy efficiency. Learn how your community can prepare for Eagle's $200 million home energy rebate program that'll be launching in October. I think it's October, they say this fall. So what the Eagle's going to do is not only will you be able to, as a homeowner, and I assume Eagle's going to also engage tenants in some fashion. You can get IRA funding for certain home energy efficiency measures, depending on it. It's sort of an income qualification thing. And I assume Eagles will be too, but so it would be how we can, prepare to get the word out, essentially. The other one is health and all policies, looking at ways that your community can integrate that public health and equity in projects and initiatives. Resiliency planning, it's sort of develop an understanding of how climate change could impact your community and projects that could help adapt and prepare. And then sustainable purchasing, learn how to create a municipal sustainable purchasing policy for your local government.
So do you want input on that now?
Yeah, what we think would be most beneficial, that Scio could benefit and implement. Because the idea, I would, want to do something that, we could actually act on.
I like 1 and 3.
The residential energy efficiency and the resiliency plan.
That seems to be particularly in line with what we've been doing.
I think the sustainable purchasing policy of the township would be an important piece.
Yeah, they're all good.
Yeah. Pam.
Yes. So, brainstorm here. The city of Ann Arbor has a new program where and I know my husband's a realtor, but I don't always pay attention. But there is a program where sellers have to get an efficiency rating on their home as they're selling it. And so what I'm wondering is if down the road a little bit, if the Sustainable Task Force group can give out awards for homes that have tested in a certain range to I don't know, to help promote that and to help reward residents and homeowners in Scio Township for either getting a good rating or after they purchase that they better their rating, and that we have information on how to get a better rating, and then give, you know, certificates or something minor, but that it's something that the Sustainable Task Force can use to promote this group, promote the good works, get more, you know, newsprint, whatever. So that's just off the top of my head.
Mhm. Yeah, good thinking.
It seems more useful than what DTE sends you. And that is, okay, they just give you the how you compare to your neighbors, but they don't talk a whole lot about what you can do to improve.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Or-
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you go
Well-
online, and then they do have a bunch of stuff, but.
Okay.
And I don't think they're doing the free home energy assessments anymore. They used to come and give you a programmable thermostat and some LED bulbs.
Consumers is still doing it. And,
What
and
consumers, I think, is, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
the idea.
technician. Yeah.
Just to interrupt really quick, I do have to jump off, but it was
Yes.
very nice meeting all of you guys, and I will be in touch very soon with the answers to your questions.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Jen.
you.
Very much,
Yeah,
Jenna.
thank you.
Yeah, so the Pam, if you're still there, I think it's a good idea. And, you know,
Thank you.
through the Scio Township newsletter, it could list regularly the people who are at level whatever, level 1 of, you know, homeowner efficiency, or level 2, or, you know, got to level 3. That, I think that'd be a good way to promote it.
Yeah, it's interesting the way Ann Arbor is doing it. They do have they're doing a kind of a HERS rating light, and they actually have through their millage are supporting those raters that are going out and rating the homes. So we would be in a position where we would need to get, you know, it be a third party HERS rating to recognize those homes.
Mhm.
So it would be, you know, recognizing people that, you know, paid for that,
Rating.
that rating. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, that's one of the advantages that the city has with the millage is, you know, they've been able to support financially some of these initiatives.
Mm.
And they decided to not do the full HERS rating, which requires a blower door test, which is, you know, several $100s to do.
Right, so is
Yeah.
the Michigan Green Communities able to help with that?
Not the green communities, but the residential energy efficiency certainly could. I see, you know, I'm thinking, Pam, of, you know, how do we recognize homeowners that are doing certain things to improve, you know, the efficiency of their homes, and just trying to, figure out how
Yeah.
to do that and make it more accessible to people who are at all income levels, because obviously someone
yeah.
who is,
Sure.
has
Yeah.
the big bucks, but you can put together your IRA money, your then the state money. So maybe we're talking about almost like a webinar series. We do the water, here in River Watershed Council, we do something that we plan something in the fall after the state comes out with theirs that combines, the education around IRA, and we have a couple people that have done some things with their house to do that. And maybe there is hey, if you do this, let the township know so you can be a resource for others. And, there is some, recognition, in the newsletter or something of people that are doing this. And for two reasons: one, to recognize it, and two, so people can contact them and say, well, how can I do the same thing? I don't know.
So John was thinking this fall, when real estate gets slower, is that he was actually thinking of creating a designation for exclusive buyer agents across the country to get a green designation. He's got enough experience, background, classes, knowledge to be able to teach a class like that. So what if I pick his brain this fall and see if it's something, like you said, a webinar that could be promoted freely to Scio residents, and that they come in that way to get either help or a designation. So I'll kind of play with it in the back of my mind. I have a lot on my plate this summer, but I'll keep that in mind to
Okay.
try to help
Mhm.
with something like that.
Yeah. And we could even make it, a sort of a hybrid meeting. So there was in person, and there might be some people there who have already done, done some things with their homes and so forth. And it could be, we could launch from that also a residential solarize group, I'm just thinking, you could do a whole home efficiency, renewable energy transition kind of web, hybrid meeting, and give people resources around those things. And then if you do the same thing with the Huron River Watershed Council, so people could really understand, the use of pesticides, asphalt sealers, I mean, all sorts of stuff, and really learn how to be more sensitive about, where the water runoff is going and what it's carrying with it. It's not so much, it's the runoff, but it's also the crap that it takes with it. Yeah. So those would be, if we did both of those, it would be golden, I think. It'd be really, really helpful. Okay. So I think I have some feedback then. It's, definitely we want to learn more about that residential efficiency stuff, and some really resiliency, because I think we haven't had a lot of input on what we can do as resiliency, and then some of the purchasing policies. So we may, if they do several of them, we may need to divide up a little bit and have a couple different people cover the different sessions that the cohort puts together. We'll see. I'm not sure if they just do one or if they're going to do a couple, or what it is. I think it's a cohort that focuses on resources and building skills, and how you take this and then implement it in your community. So, all right. And then the next thing we'll have to think about too, I mean, there are two other things I wanted to bring up from a resource standpoint. One is, next summer we have the opportunity to propose a fellowship where you get 10 weeks of a grad student who works on a very specific project. And it's an intense it's an intense focus for them. They produce pretty extensive documentation of, whatever problem you want them to address. So I think we should think about how we could use someone. Right now I'm working in, you get a technical advisor and a fellow. And I'm working with the city of Rockford, which I thought it was kind of interesting. They have a population of 6,000 and they are a city. And they are operating similarly to what we are in that they have a sustainability committee that has been doing all the work. And so they're trying to figure out how they actually embed, sustainability within their governmental structure so it isn't so reliant on a totally volunteer committee. It wouldn't say that the committee would go away, but how do you, really embed it? So they're looking at using a consultant. They're looking at, keeping it within the current structure and rearranging some job positions. They're looking at a part-time sort of position and how that would be integrated. So it can be any sort of focus that helps move sustainability forward and that is scalable, that would be helpful to other communities. So we have a while to think about that, but give some thought to what that would be. The other item is this was off my radar, but they did last year we didn't get one, but they are they are extending the deadline for a Climate Corps member. And I don't know if, but I talked to Joyce a little bit about whether we wanted to apply again. I mean, it's basically using the same application that we did last year. It's a full-time person for a year. And our pay component of it is like $8,000 to $10,000 or something like that. But you actually get, and you can interview and select the person you want. You're not just given somebody. And with all the, U of M students and retirees that might have a background or something, there might be some folks, somebody that would want to do that for full-time for a year. I don't understand their timing because it goes from November to the end of October. And I'm thinking, why would you do something outside like a school, when you can pick up a graduate, who's in between, their undergrad and grad degree or something like that. But this is the way they do it. I don't know.
November to
Yeah, so I wanted to throw that out there just in case someone, knows of someone that might, be really interested in this. They do give them an education stipend or a cash stipend at the end, and the education stipend I think is over $10,000. And if it's someone who is interested in government work, you get any employment that you apply for, it's as if you're a government employee. So you get sort of that inside track government position. So if anyone, it's almost like you want to identify some people that, might be good. But I was thinking, it would certainly help PPP and, this committee and, if we wanted to do, have somebody help write, sustainable purchasing policy, some other things help with, the outreach seminars. We might end up doing one of those workshops in the fall and one of them in the spring or something like that. They could help with that. They could help with the sustainability fair. There's just a bunch of, if we're going to do this composting thing, they could help deal with that, the electronic waste stuff, it would just be someone that you could count on to, be that support. So anyway, thought I'd lay that out there in case someone said, hey, I know somebody who really fit that. Then any other public comment? Perfect. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Rob. I'll have to figure out why I was having the sign-in problems, but then okay, announcements. Oh, I skipped over the fair. Whoops. Just Meyer gave us a license agreement for $1. But it's something that I had to have the township attorney review, and Mariah just finished reviewing it, and it went back to Meyer. They wanted the township to indemnify them and some other things. So I'm waiting for that to get cleared before I actually reserve the tent. I did get a cost for the tent. What was it? I think it's it's about $2,200 to rent the tent. It's a 30 by 45 tent, and it includes, the tables and chairs too. I decided that we should have at least 3 sides that had the windows in it. So if the weather isn't so good, we have the option of a little bit of shelter.
Do they set it up for you?
Yeah, they set it up and take it down. They would set it up actually on Saturday, which I've got to talk about the licensing agreement, having the tent before that. Oh, okay. Whoops. It's always good to talk about these things, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing was the EV guys wanted to do more morning forward and less afternoon. And so we sort of compromised. And so we're thinking about changing the time so it would be set up at 10, and the sustainability fair would go from 11 to 3 rather than 1 to 4. And it's early enough. It was in the newsletter, but everyone's going to forget what we put in the newsletter by October. So I don't feel so bad about it. It's shifting it a little bit. But it seemed better to overlap more with the EV folks. They'll still be there. They're going to go from 10 to 3, I think. And we would go 11 to 3, but we'd be there at 10 setting up and stuff. So, any other thoughts? But
Do you still want input on like the 2 electric bikes companies and how there was some concern that they were going to be competing with one another, or?
Oh, was there some concern? I don't know.
I guess there was.
You mean from
HEC and then the other one.
Yeah. And there's also the company that wants to do a bike repair too during the fair, which would be cool.
So, HEC is really unique in terms of the cargo bikes that they have. There aren't too many places that do that. So they could kind of feature those in a way, which would be different than the other.
Yeah,
Wheels in
that's a
Motion
good idea.
So, yeah.
Have one do the cargo bikes and the other one do the more regular. You know what? Have you seen, what was it? I think it was a New York Times article or someone. They were talking about how EV or e-bike sales have just skyrocketed. And they think, so much more so than the, the actual electric vehicles. And they think that it's going to dominate the bike market. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are concerned, though. How does that impact the trails and the speed at which people are traveling, right next to pedestrians? But hopefully they can work that out.
Yeah, it's yeah. I feel better going faster in the bike lanes that are adjacent to cars.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I posted on Facebook. I haven't had any bad incidents with people, and my husband just rode a bike and he was on Miller and Maple, and this woman screamed at him because she wanted to turn right because the bike lane is shares the right turn lane, and she wanted to turn on red, right, and he's going straight, and she basically told him, she goes, roads should be for people who pay taxes. I'm just going,
And did she think that he didn't pay taxes?
I guess he looked a little, homeless or something.
Or he looked really young, like maybe he was a student.
But anyway, oh well.
Yeah.
I hate to excuse such behavior, but maybe they meant the vehicle taxes
Mm,
that pay for
There
the
you go,
road a
Mark.
bit.
Yeah.
Right, the gas tax, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Last time I looked, that didn't pay for all the road improvements. But anyway, okay. Yeah, so it would be good. eh, I hate to take up meeting time for this, especially since it's already 9:15. We really do need to start. I'll put a Google document together with who people have suggested so far that people can add to. And if you could put your name next to it, if you're going to go ahead and contact them about the sustainability fair, I do want to wait and make sure this license agreement goes through, because otherwise we're going to have to bail and go to like
Mm.
Township Hall and do it there.
Mhm.
So that's the only thing I want to kind of wait, but we can still come up, brainstorm. We just can't go out and contact until we have an actual place, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Minutes, any additions or changes to the minutes? Okay,
All motion to approve.
all right.
Support.
Support, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Okay. And then our next meeting will be August 1st, and September 5th, we will hold our meeting because the Suds on the River is the 12th. Yay, we don't conflict for the first time in a couple of years. And then, yes, Tim noted the deadline for the fall newsletter, the newsletter that actually is, I think it's the winter newsletter. It gets published October 10th, is September 9th. So you might want to, and that's when you have to send it to Mary.
Yeah.
And we'll have some other updates that we'll have. So we're just missing that newsletter for the sustainability fair, but that's okay. Okay.
Good.
That's it. Thank you for staying on an extended period of time. And thank you, Rob, for recording. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Jan, for doing what you're doing.
Oh, well,
Jim.
but look at the team we have. It's great. It's awesome. You guys are doers.
look at the team you built, Jan.
Yeah.
I'll send you the
See
notes,
you
Jan.
later.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we are
All right.
going to recruit some more people. We do. I'm going to meet with a bunch of co-housers and see if we can snag some more folks. So
Great.
it'll be great. Okay, thank you very much.